Shalom, I'm Naama Ru. This is my husband, Rabbi David Ru. And we've been talking about the laws of agriculture in the Holy Land, in the traditional borders of the people Israel. And today we are going to talk some more about charity, which is built into Jewish law for every Jewish person. There is a whole structure that we've been talking about.
As I've said, that most of our agricultural laws have been in one way or another tied to charity. And in the Rambam, when he comes to the end of talking about the gifts to the poor that are part of this, he talks about 8 levels of charity. The highest level of charity, the Rambam says, that there is no higher level than this, is to help someone so that they never need a gift and you can do this by making a partnership with them, giving them a loan to start a business. You can recommend someone as a workman, a business.
So, for example, there's several eateries where we live, like Siftach is a coffee shop, is like a coffee truck. It's new, it's locally owned by a young entrepreneur. There's another restaurant.
And where is it?
Oh, so at the Lone Oak, which is, there's the second coffee truck that opened up right near the schools. And it's a really special spot to stop. It has like a whole mural and like a model of the hills of the region. And they also have a coffee truck, their original from right before the first COVID lockdown. They opened up on the north end of Efrat, which is basically like it's overlooking some awesome valleys. And it's really actually on the way to Kever Rachel's tomb and Jerusalem.
Yes, that's wonderful.
There's also a place which sells raw sauerkraut, but they don't advertise it that way.
Prohibition Pickle in Canyon Harim, the mall at the Tzomet Gush, the intersection of the Gush. And we've been recommending to people that they go there, that it's very good New York style deli. The next lowest level, or second to highest level of tzedakah, is someone who gives to the poor, and he does not know to whom he's giving, and the poor don't know from whom they're receiving. One level below this is that the giver knows to whom he is giving, but the receiver does not know from whom he's receiving. And below this is when the receiver knows whom he's receiving charity from, but the giver doesn't know who he's giving it to. And then I give charity to a person who needs it before he asks for it. I realize this person is suffering from financial difficulties. Here's something that can help you. Less than this is that I give him after he asks. Less than this is I give him in a generous manner, but not everything that he needs. Either because I can't do it or I'm a little tight. And less than this is I give someone money and I do it with a bad look on my face. It's like, I don't really want to give him this, but there is a mitzvah tzedakah. I'd like to tell one brief story that I remember listening to a couple talking about, they arrived from Romania in the 50s, a couple Holocaust survivors, and the Ceausescu regime in Romania started to become anti-Semitic. They left, came to the United States, and they opened a business, and eventually they got to the point where they could buy one of 2 houses. One they liked more, the other was a duplex. They really wanted the privacy, but they knew they wouldn't be able to give away 10% of their charity if they owned the house and not the duplex. So they decided, since they really should be giving, since they were making money and they could afford to help other people, that they should be buying the house that was the duplex they wanted less, so that they could make sure that they were supporting the poor properly. This is very important, one of the most important attributes in Judaism. As I quoted the Rambam earlier, the redemption comes because of charity. Tzion b'mishpat titba'adeh, u'shavaha b'tzedakah. that Zion will be redeemed with righteousness and its captives with charity. So the ultimate redemption comes through charity, which is something that we should be very careful about how we do it and make sure we're doing it properly.
Can you just remind us how much we're supposed to give?
Between 10 and 20%
of our income.
There is a prohibition of giving away too much money, by the way, because we don't want someone to become impoverished by the amount of tzedakah that they give. For extremely wealthy people, there are people that have written today that they can give more than 20%, but in general, we're not allowed to give more than 20%. There are actually stories in the Gemara of people who would give away money to the point that they would impoverish themselves, and the Gabai Tzedakah, the charity collectors, when they saw them, would run in the other direction so that they couldn't accept money from this person because he was giving too much. It's not a problem that most people have, but it can be an issue that one should not give so much that one is impoverished. People that need support should still give some charity, and Rambam says it shouldn't be less than something like, in modern terminology, I would say about $100 a year.
Shouldn't be less than $100 a year for a person who has a normal enough income that they're not hungry. Or
no, I'm saying even for a person that's receiving to help themselves, they still have to get used to giving away some money. And so that's less than $10 a month. Even people that are a little, if you have so much difficulty that you're hungry, then of course you shouldn't give away any charity because you yourself are the person. But for most people, it's important to give away at least some. And for people that can afford it, certainly, even though it might mean a change in our lifestyle to some degree, we should give away between 10 and 20%.
So do you give it on an annual basis or when you receive the money?
That's a great question. Really, it should be given over time, not at one shot, because poor people, they're always more poor than there are support for the poor. So the Gabbai Tzedakah has to distribute the money every week, every month, and so on. If he only gets it once a year, it's going to be gone in a couple months. And then there's going to be no money for the rest of the year.
So you give it to the person who distributes it. You don't have to give it direct?
You do not have to give it direct. And you can in certain ways, certainly in terms of making loans and partnerships and so on. That's always a direct way of giving, and that's the highest level, as we said. And that can be counted as tzedakah, even though you might make money from it. Then you have to give tzedakah on the money that you made from it, of course. But in general, it's difficult to analyze who needs and who doesn't need and how much people need. And there are people that do this as a significant part, or their positions in the community allow them to know these things.
Okay, so just a last question that kind of brings it back to the agricultural conversation we were having. So like when you are separating part of your crops for the poor, in our times, you don't just allow them or just give them grain that they won't be able to use, right? Can you talk about how we make sure that they receive our gift?
There are many ways in which this is done today. I'm not fully competent on this. I would have to talk to someone and come back with an answer to that question.
Okay, just a little bit though, like we might process it to become bread before we give it?
I have no idea. I can't answer that question at all.
So detailed. We'll have to consult with the local rabbis who have been helping implement the laws of agriculture and Shemitah in Israel for decades. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.